Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. Now there is a concept of sexual division of labor. What does that mean is the division of labor or the work one is doing is actually based on their sex or gender. So a particular gender is assigned only particular kinds of tasks and avoided certain kinds of tasks. Now, very interestingly, the same thing was visible in the military forces as well. However, that is changing and is going to change comprehensively as we see that the NDA is going to offer women to become services chief in the future. Now that does not mean that this allowance or the courses are starting right now. However, what it means is that in the future we might see chief which are women and not necessarily men. So let us delve deep into how this is going to be possible. So what is the news as with respect to this? So the news is of the 17 women cadets that were in the 148th batch of the NDA, that is the National Defense Academy. So in the 148th batch that graduated from the National Defense Academy, it consisted of 17 women cadets as well. That means their admission would have of course happened years back, and now they have graduated from the prestigious Tri-Services Institute in Kottapalya. Now what this does is this opens the door for them to become chiefs in services in the future. Why only this? Does this mean that women were not at all represented in any post in the military? No, absolutely not. There were representations, but only in specific domains. So let us see how has the journey of the women been with respect to NDA, how it all started. So when you talk about the history or the historical background, in 1888, that is during the British rule. So during the British rule, the British established the military nursing services. So this is also now military. Of course, it has the combat services wherein you are given the combat role. It has certain desk jobs, it has doctors, it has nurses. In fact, it also has engineers and various other personnel. Yes, you also have border road organization consisting of engineers building roads at high elevation, difficult terrain, so on and so forth. Now, some of these roles are not combat roles, but still present in the military. So one such role was that of the military nursing services, which officially opened up military for the women in India. So military did not open for women for the combat roles, but it started in 1888 with the nursing role over there. Now moving ahead, after independence, after we achieved independence in 1958, what happened is the Indian Army Medical Corps. Indian Army Medical Corps also started granting regular commission to women doctors, means started commissioning women doctors, means started taking on board women doctors. So that was the next step. However, until 1992, non-medical roles remained off limits. That means women were given sort of medical roles only, either that of doctors or of nurses, but no non-medical roles. We are not even talking about the combat roles as of now. Even there was no any other non-combat, non-medical role. Even in non-combat roles, it was just the medical role that were present up to 1992. However, after 1992, we had the Women's Special Entry Scheme. It introduced to induct women in the selected non-combat roles in addition to the non-combat roles in the field of medicines. So it was for select non-combat streams such as Army Education Corps, Corps of Signals, Intelligence Corps, and Corps of Engineers. So you're talking about intelligence, you're talking about engineers, so on and so forth. However, interestingly, this was Short Service Commission, that is SSC, Short Service Commission. Now what is Short Service Commission? It means there is no permanent commission. It's not PC or permanent commission, it is Short Service Commission, so it will be temporary in nature and not of permanent nature. So non-combat roles in certain selective domains were there, but even that was short service in nature, right? So when did this permanent commission come in? Permanent commission means you are a permanent employee. So that permanent commission remained out of reach for women until 2008. So it was only in 2008 wherein the short service officers in Judge Advocates General Department and the AEC became eligible for the permanent commission. Now, Government of India, that is the Indian government, allowed women PC officers in again 8 non-combat streams in 2019. So as we reach 2019, what has happened? There are still non-combat roles only, right? But the domains are more. There are total 8 other non-combat domains which are present. One interesting thing that happened is the permanent commission was not now allowed for the women, which was previously not allowed. Moving ahead, in 2020, there was a landmark verdict by the Supreme Court. It ruled that women officers were eligible for permanent commission and command roles against the 10 streams. So what is a command role? When you talk about a command role in military, it is the role of leading a group, a contingent, a group of personnel and heading that or leading that. So Supreme Court here in 2020 allows in the landmark judgment permanent commission as well as command roles, and it said that these roles could not be denied based on sex stereotypes which discriminate against women. Now, one thing you should know, probably in prelims or in answers you should be clear when you're writing, we are talking about sex stereotype, not gender stereotype, because sex is a terminology which comes from biology, whereas gender is nothing but the social construct of a person's sex. So that is why it is better to use this term rather than use sex rather than gender stereotype. I hope that's clear. Moving ahead, in 2021, the Apex Court again, it ordered NDA to admit first batch of women cadets, and presently as we speak in 2025, this first batch has graduated, consisting of 17 women cadets. So this is a step in the right direction, which will now give the women also the roles in the future to become the commanding officers, to become the chiefs in the coming years. We won't see that right now because these are young cadets who have just recently graduated. We will be seeing these kind of high position roles acquired by the women in India in the coming decades. And as and when these initial entry stages also the number of women increases, more and more commanding officers and chief will be seen from women's side as well. Now, while admitting this first group of cadets, there was a let's say sort of a dilemma with respect to the training that should go ahead. Right. So there were two perspectives. One perspective is to have everything separate for the women cadets as compared to the things that are there for the male cadets. So that was possible. That was one perspective. However, the perspective with which the NDA has gone ahead is to have exactly the same routine and everything, be it a male cadet or a female cadet, with minimum changes to the existing curriculum. Hardly any change unless and until it is absolutely required. The curriculum is going to remain the same, and most training activities are conducted jointly. Why? Of course, because keeping in mind the employability, specifically with respect to employability of all the genders together in the same group. So what is being done? Major training activities are being conducted jointly and not separately for men and women. Again, a positive step as we see over here. In fact, In military, you also have the squadrons. Squadrons is basically the groups that you have. So there was a concept of having a separate female squadron. However, that is again not the case, and we will have common squadrons for the military personnel. Common squadron means there is no differentiation of a squadron being solely of male or solely of female. The squadron is going to be common, and it will consist of males as well as females alike. So this is a step in the right direction which has been taken. There's no discrimination or distinguishment has been made in any manner whatsoever. And in the coming future, when more and more women join the forces, it is only going to develop better. Integration is going to be even better going forward. Thank you.